Hey, what is up? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Ivy, and today I'm going to be doing my May wrap-up and June TBR. This month, instead of just talking about books, I'm also going to talk about the TV shows and movies that I watched. It's actually like so much, so let's do it. We're going to start with shows, and the first thing I watched was seasons 2 and 3 of Alexa and Katie. This is a Netflix original, and it is rated G because it is a kid's show, but it's also really fun, and I really enjoy it. It centers around these two best friends in high school, so each season so far has followed them in like freshman year, then sophomore year, etc. Alexa, one of the friends, has cancer at the very beginning of the show, so that's a pretty important thing. It's just really cute and fun, and it makes you feel good, and it's just makes you laugh, and the friendship is really beautiful and fun to watch. I gave seasons 2 and 3 a 4.5 out of 5 stars, and did I cry? Yes. Okay, the next TV thing that I watched was season 2 of the Marvelous Mrs Maisel. This show is an Amazon Prime original. It's like so good. This show follows a woman in the late 50s to early 60s, I believe, and she is becoming a stand-up comedian. Every single character of this show is just hilarious. They all bring something different to the table, and the dynamics between them, it's so funny. You're rooting for Midge, the main character, like so hard the entire time. Her personality is amazing. She's hilarious. Obviously, she's a comic. It's super ridiculous at times, but also really empowering, and the costumes are great. It's so much fun. It gets a 5 out of 5 stars from me, and did I cry? No, not yet. Okay, so let's move on to movies. I watched about 10,000 this month. First of all, I watched the Lord of the Rings extended editions for the third time since lockdown started. These are my favorite movies of all time, so I'm not really going to spend too much time talking about them, but they're great. They all get 5 out of 5 stars, and yes, they made me cry. They make me cry so hard. It's always a mess. Next, we have JoJo Rabbit. This movie is kind of hard to explain. I think you could call it a satire, maybe? It takes place in World War II, and it's about a little kid named JoJo who is in Hitler Youth, and he has an imaginary friend who happens to be Hitler. It is absolutely hilarious. There were so many parts where I lost my mind. I was laughing so hard. However, it also got serious and like really dark and sad, which I loved. Like, I think they balanced it really well, and you would go from 1 minute like, haha, that's cute, that's funny, to like, oh my god, this is terrifying and like tragic. There was a lot of good acting, and yeah, it was just really great. Gets a 5 out of 5 stars. Did I cry? No, I think I got teary, but there was no spillage. Next, we have 1917. So this was a rewatch for me. This is a movie that takes place in World War I, and it's about 2 British soldiers, and they have to make a journey. And that's all I'm gonna say, because you just need to watch it. And it's shot really uniquely. Like, I think it's like 3 super long takes or something, so it's just really continuous, and oh my god, it's so cool. I've never seen anything like it before, and the first time I saw it in theaters, and I have never reacted so strongly to a movie. Like, I was gasping, like, not even trying to act, like, funny, like, no, I was legitimately gasping. It's so intense and so exhausting and draining, but, like, in the best way possible. It gets another 5 out of 5 stars from me, and did I cry? Yes, but this time, it was, like, a delayed reaction. It ended, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm okay, and then, like, 10 minutes later, I started crying. Next, we have All the Bright Places. This is a romance on Netflix. It really focuses on mental health and specifically like depression and stuff. And I think it had potential. It could have been great. Like, I think it really had potential, like I said, but something about it just wasn't quite there for me. And I don't know. I didn't connect with it enough, and so it gets 3 out of 5 stars. No, it did not make me cry, but I think there are some people who could really enjoy that movie. Next, we have the Shawshank Redemption. So this is about a man who is falsely accused and convicted for a murder that he does not commit, hence falsely accused. He ends up in prison, and this was not what I was expecting, but I was very pleasantly surprised. It's really, there's just a lot going on and like a lot of themes, and it's really uncomfortable and hard to watch at times. But it does center around friendship, and I found that to be really enjoyable, and it was just like a really thought-provoking movie overall. The end was very satisfying and also very bittersweet, and I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars, and I don't think I cried, but I might be forgetting. Next we have Knives Out. Oh my god, did I love this movie. It's a murder mystery, and it is so... it's brilliant. I was cackling so much in this movie. I had the best time ever. Like, out of all the things I watched this month, this definitely made me, like, the most happy. It was really, like, tropey, but not all at the same time. Like, it was what you would expect, but also not. And it just, like, really turned all this stuff on its head, and, like, I don't even know how to describe it. I loved... the best part for me, the best part was for sure the detective. Whoever that actor was, I don't remember his name, but oh my god, did he nail it. It was so funny and ridiculous, and I can't handle it. It's so funny. I was not able to predict the ending, but I'm sure a lot of people could, because, like, I'm just dumb. It gets a 5 out of 5 stars. I did not cry, I don't think. Next thing I watched was Overcomer. This is a cross-country movie, and it is very Christian-based, so if that's not for you, then I would not recommend it, but if it is, then I would. It was pretty slow at the beginning, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I was like, okay, what's the point of this? But by the end, I was really into it, and I enjoyed it a lot. It was also a little predictable, but, you know, it's just the way it is. The cross-country aspect of it, though, was so good. There was just a lot of stuff that hit me really hard because I related to it. Like, after a race, showing all the girls falling to the ground, like, yeah, that happens. It gets a 4 out of 5 stars, and I cried a lot. Next is Bohemian Rhapsody. This is another rewatch, and oh my god, it was so much better the second time. I say that like it wasn't great the first time. It was great the first time, but, like, oh my god, I loved it a lot. Probably because I have more of an understanding of what was happening, and it's really heart-wrenching to watch, but it's also really great to watch and fun at times. The best part is when they're like, this isn't the type of song that teenagers will headbang to in their cars. Oh my god, we love a Wayne's World reference. Obviously, the music in this movie is fantastic, and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, and yes, I did cry. Speaking of, next I watched Wayne's World. This is yet another rewatch, and it's just a classic, and one of the funniest movies I've ever seen. Just so many great moments in this movie, and I can watch it again and again and again. It gets a 5 out of 5 stars, and I almost cried because I was laughing so hard. So next is a very different movie, and that is BlacKkKlansman. This is a very interesting concept, and I think it might be based on a true story, but I'm not entirely sure. It follows a black police officer who decides to become a member of the KKK. How it works is he talks to them on the phone while another white police officer, played by Adam Driver, goes to, like, the meetings and stuff, and oh my god. It was uncomfortable to watch, but, like, in a good way, obviously, and it was very thought-provoking, and there were parts when it was hilarious because it's just, you're watching this, and just... when you think about what's happening, I don't know how to describe it. It's a really weird feeling. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 stars, and I don't think it made me cry. Next we have Extraction. This is a Netflix original starring Chris Hemsworth, and it's an action movie where he has to extract the kid of a drug lord who was kidnapped. This was very intense and exciting and a lot of fun. Pretty much exactly what I expected it to be. There were so many cool scenes and just, like, action things. Holy crap, the stunts were insane. The character depth was, like, just on the edge of being really good, but it wasn't quite there for me. That wasn't really the point. The point was the action, the intensity, and that was really good. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars, and it did not make me cry. Next, we have A Star is Born. This is a movie starring Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper, and Lady Gaga plays a young woman who is rising to stardom, and Bradley Cooper plays like her boyfriend slash mentor who is already a star. This was so good! First of all, the music is incredible, and I love Lady Gaga so much more now. Bradley Cooper, of course, was great too, but like Lady Gaga. It's one of those things when you know how it's gonna end and you really don't want it to. It was really emotional and just wow. I will say it was probably a little too long, which is why it only gets a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I honestly don't remember if I cried or not, so... And the final movie that I watched in May was The Edge of 17. So this is another... No, I don't think it's a Netflix original. I don't know. It was on Netflix, and this is another one that really focuses on mental health and depression. The main character is in high school, and she is dealing with a lot already, and then her best friend starts dating her brother. There are a lot of really great and relatable scenes, and I feel like this movie really didn't shy away from some, like, harder things. The main character is kind of unlikable, but you're still rooting for her, but she is a total jerk, but the development of her from the beginning to the end is great. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 stars, and I did not cry. Okay, so now let's get into the books that I read this month. First thing that I read was City of Lost Souls, which is book 5 in the Mortal Instruments series by Cassandra Clare. This series begins with the first book called The City of Bones, and it follows a girl named Clare who is discovering the Shadow World, which is like this whole thing where shadow hunters kill demons, and there's vampires and werewolves and fairies, and it's a wild ride. Up until this point, I was enjoying this series, but I wasn't loving it. But this book, I loved. Just all of a sudden was like, oh my god, these characters are my ride or die, and I really need to know what happens to them. I can't really tell you much about what this is about, but I loved the situation that the characters Clary and Jace were in. If you read it, you know what I'm talking about. But it was fascinating to read and super like, oh my god, what's gonna happen next? And I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars because it was great. The second and last book that I finished this month was City of Heavenly Fire by Cassandra Clare, the last book in the series. And before you say, Ivy, you only read 2 books this month, this was over 700 pages long, so it's the longest book I've read in a while. This was a fantastic conclusion, and I'm sorry for saying fantastic over and over and over again. But I love this so much. The end was so satisfying. All the characters, their stories weaving together, and just, oh my god, it was great. I loved it. I was very sad to see the end of this series, but I know I will be seeing more of these characters in the other Shadowhunters series, so I'm okay. I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars, and it made me cry and scream and slam it on the chair. Okay, now for what I want to read in June. First of all, we have The Silmarillion by J.R.R. Tolkien and edited by his son, Christopher Tolkien. This is basically a book of history and lore of Middle-earth, starting with the creation of Middle-earth. It's said to be Tolkien's most important work. It revolves around the Silmarils, which are these 3 stones that are pretty cool, and you'll learn more about them if you read this book. So the next thing that I want to read is Clockwork Angel by Cassandra Clare. This is the first book in a different Shadowhunters series, which is called The Infernal Devices. All I know about this is it's a prequel, and I know I was supposed to read this trilogy like in the middle of the Mortal Instruments, but I didn't. What's done is done, and we're gonna move forward. And the last thing that I want to read in June is, what's the name? Clockwork Prince by Cassandra Clare. Book 2 in the Infernal Devices trilogy. Okay, so that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you have a great day. And I will see you next time with another video. Bye.